This is the Andycine 95S compact V-mount battery. It's super small, it's super powerful, but when they reached out and asked me if I wanted to try this out, I was wondering, do I want to get into this V-mount system at all? But honestly, I think, spoilers, this might be a great way to get into the system in the first place for a variety of reasons. And we're going to go out and see if this battery is right for you and right for me. But let's just take a step back, rewind, and talk about it. The GH6 is not exactly known for its battery life. I mean, it's really only going to give you about an hour, hour and 15 battery life, shooting like 4K and stuff. So shooting longer events, big wedding ceremonies, long wedding days where you don't want to be swapping batteries or charging on the go, I thought this would actually be a really solid solution. So let's get into some of the features this thing offers to people who may want to pick it up. As we talked about, it's really small for a V-mount. It's pretty light, all things considered. Like obviously compared to like normal battery, you can see we got a big difference here, but for its size, it gives you quite a bit. Small, light, and relatively cheap makes this one really viable option. Usually the small compact V-mounts historically have been more expensive, not less. So this is a really great option for mostly on-camera recording and like powering your camera and monitors and things like that. But anyway, going around it a little bit, I think this thing's super versatile. Like we talked about, we've got a lot of ports up here. We've got these little rubber flaps for 2 D-taps, which is also how I charge this thing. And then we've got USB-C, USB-A, and this sort of DC, AC, is it DC or AC? Whatever. Power cables port. I don't know what exactly you would use for this. I think some monitors and things like that could take this power, but I think most people are going to be using these two or just the double D-taps. And again, you can kind of use all these at the same time, so that's pretty cool. And of course it has this at the bottom as well for the compatible lights and cameras that use V-mounts natively. I've been using the Condor Blue, dummy battery to go with the GH6 for a couple of reasons we're going to get into in a minute, but it works out really well, and honestly it kind of matches this like kind of blue, light blue aesthetic, so I almost wonder if they were kind of going for a Condor Blue kind of aesthetic or to make it match, but it looks really, really nice, I think. Yeah, but it's really great. It's versatile. You can do like D-tap to your camera, D-tap to your monitor. You can charge your phone with the USBs, save your life on a wedding day. I think it's really cool how versatile this is. I think that's just really cool how many options it gives you for powering different devices. In terms of its design, there's little grips, there's things like that. You kind of hit this button on the side here, and the side lights up, which is a nice quick indicator for depending on how your camera's oriented. And then on the front, it's going to give you your battery and little bars and things like that. You can also hold these buttons down to switch some settings around or power the USBs, which are not powered by default, or power the DC. But generally, I'm just going to use this on my camera and then occasionally power up those USBs for when I need to charge other devices. There's also this mounting point right here in case you don't have like the proper attachments for V-mount, but I haven't used it yet, but I can definitely see someone just like putting a little arm on here and powering a light or doing something like that. So yeah, I love the multiple ways you can check the battery life, just like the detailed percentage or the quick like bar on the side. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see exactly where that bar is and it's not super accurate, but hey, that's why there's multiple ways to check it. And you just hit that side button, turns on, and after a few seconds turns off. This display is slightly hard to read in the sunlight, but the side one you can always see pretty well. But yeah, the display is fine. It's just not the brightest thing ever, and it's pretty reflective. So outdoor sunlight, you might have to do, one of these to check it out, but not a big deal either way. The real test for me was shooting on a wedding day. I could charge this thing sporadically on a film set for events. They're not going to last that long. But if I was going to take out the GH6 as my main camera on a long wedding day, is this gonna do the trick? And the answer is, yeah, it is insane how long this battery will charge and power your camera with that dummy battery. Originally, I was like, oh, I don't know if I like the dummy battery because if it dies, it's gonna be a whole process to take it out and do all this stuff. But I shot 2 12-hour weddings, pretty busy throughout the day, And at the end of one day, I had just under 40%, I believe. And this actually, I just shot a wedding yesterday, 12 hours, and we're on, what is it, 21%? But you know we couldn't stop there. I decided to test the actual battery life, and I was going to do the whole battery, but after about an hour, I was 10% down, so that means you could pretty safely assume that you're getting about an hour of recording for every 10%, aka you could get easily 9 or 10 hours of straight 4K recording with this battery alone. It's insane. You can do a full 12-hour wedding day pretty easily. I didn't have any other accessories attached, so a monitor might take this down a little bit, but any normal 6 to 8 hour wedding day, I don't think this thing's gonna have any problem powering it, even if you did have another accessory. But again, if you're just powering the camera, this is gonna go for 12 hours on and off, fairly constant recording pretty easily. And I was charging my phone and doing other things like that as well, so it wasn't even just powering the camera. The battery life is just so good. Like, I cannot explain how good it is for powering a camera like the GH6. And honestly, it wasn't that heavy. I mean, the GH6 is a fairly heavy camera, but I always have the 10 to 25 or the 25 to 50 on it, which makes it a little front heavy. And having that V-mount in back just kind of balanced it out. I could tuck it into my shoulder, look down. I actually kind of liked the experience of having this V-mount locked in, and it really didn't strain my arms that much on the wedding day. So yeah, I found myself pretty damn impressed by this thing, but it's not perfect, and there's a few little oversights or just like little issues you may run into. So here we go. First thing is, this did come to me for free. I did get it from Andycine, and the price is good, but it doesn't have all of the things you're going to need to get started right away. So, of course, I had to buy the DTAP to GH6 because they can't just include every flavor of DTAP to whatever in the box. That's fine, expected price, but it also doesn't come with a charger. It can only charge through the DTAP on top, and it doesn't come with a DTAP charger, so that's one thing you're going to want to consider when buying this battery. Despite that USB-C being really convenient to charge your other devices and your phone, you can't actually charge the battery with that. I know that's probably one thing, if not the only thing, the small rig batteries have over this thing. They are a lot more expensive. I think you get about half the capacity for the same price. But yeah, that is one thing that I wish could have been changed. I probably wouldn't have been as fast or whatever, but I think it would have been a nice addition. Also, we got the 14 volt, blah, 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 10 amp, whatever. I was kind of interested to see originally, because I didn't want to buy the DTAP to dummy battery connector, and I also was worried about, the whole switching it out sort of thing. I was like, well, maybe I could just use this as a power delivery. So I tried a few USB-C cables, a USB-A to USB-C, trying to power the GH6 with power delivery like you would just a normal battery bank. But these ports, the USBs, I think are generally 5 volts. I think the GH6 needs 9 volts, 3 amps or something along those lines for power delivery, like while recording, while powered. So you could slowly kind of charge your, trickle charge your GH6 batteries, but they're not going to stay topped off. They are going to eventually go down, and maybe they won't even record at all when you're recording. Not 100% sure. Point is, this for power delivery to the GH6 doesn't really work, so you're going to want that dummy battery, although the USB-Cs are still handy for other things. Even with those few cons, I really am pleasantly surprised with this thing as a V-mount battery, but also as someone who didn't really use V-mount before. I was just impressed with how easy it was once I had all the necessary parts, how it didn't really add that much weight because the balance was good with a DSLR or DSLM type camera like the GH6 and a decently sized lens, but it does add a little bit of weight, and it is a whole new ecosystem, a whole new charger, whole new set of things to keep track of. But just shooting a wedding day with this and this replacing 6 batteries for the GH6 and leaving those other batteries for my S5, my GH5S, and my other cameras, which I did swap out occasionally. Just having one old reliable camera like the GH6 just constantly being powered by this thing was super handy. This cost the same price as like 2 Lumix branded BLK22s, maybe a little bit more than that, and it gives you like the capacity of like 10. So this thing's insane. Not literally 10, but it feels like it. So super impressed by this little battery, and I think if you guys have been interested to try V-mount, this might be a really good place to start with, just because of how easy it was to use and how much power and utility it really brings to your camera setup. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Keep an eye out for that rig video. I'm going to do a video on the small rig stuff that I used to mount this thing to the camera, and I'm going to do a video on the full rig once it's complete as well. So subscribe if you want to see that stuff in the future, and let me know, are you guys using V-mount? Are you using power banks? Are you using some other form to power your GH6? Are you just going straight in and using those BLK22s for everything, which is what I was doing until very recently? Anyway, guys, enough talking. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys in the next video.